Hello, this is the Arras Memorial in northern France in a town called Arras, and in the graveyard here you have about 3,000 graves of soldiers who fell in the First World War. Behind the graveyard you have that building there, and that building is actually a list in stone of, and carved into all those walls, which I'll show you in a minute, are the names of 35,500 soldiers who were killed in the First World War. Their names are carved there. They don't have graves like we have here, because their bodies were not found. In base 6, which is sort of towards the right of the memorial, is the grave of Ernest Dalzell, which is spelt D-A-L-Z-E-L-L, which may be pronounced Dalziel, but unfortunately I've not been able to discover how it's pronounced. However, Dalzell was, I'll show you a picture of him. This is Ernest Dalzell, and he was a fell runner who was a champion fell runner in the First World War. He's someone that I based a character on in my book Armistice Runner. And Dalzell was famous because he was a champion fell runner. He won the Grasmere Guides race several times, and he set the record in the Burnsall fell race, which is a really famous fell race. And he was something of a legend, and he went off to fight in the First World War. He was important to me because when I was writing Armistice Runner, I based my character on him. There's a character in here who is the great-great-grandfather of a girl called Lily, and Dalzell, it was sort of the model in a way for that character, and I've called him Ernest Darby in here, but he's based on Dalzell, and I became quite really sort of obsessed with him really, and wanted to make him a character in one of my books, to the extent that he's famous for doing the Burnsall fell race, which he did in, I believe, something like 13 minutes. So I went and did that fell race, and it took me 28. So I'm slow. He was very fast. So he was the inspiration for the character in the book. And what in the story of this book, Lily, a girl who is a fell runner now. So she's a girl now in the 21st century. She finds out from her grandmother, who is losing her memory, that her great-great-grandfather was a fell runner. And I just wanted to read you briefly the bit in the book where she finds out about him. And then I thought it'd be nice to go over and see Ernest Dalzell's name engraved over there. So this is the part in the book, in this book, where Lily, the girl, finds out about her great-great-grandfather. My granddad, Gran smiled, your great-great-granddad, Lily. His name was Ernest. He ran in the fells. Tell me about your running, Lily. Lily could see that Mum and Dad and Grandad were on the edge of their seats watching. Gran was talking, and that was a big deal. They smiled at Lily to encourage her to ask more. So Lily sat with her Gran. She talked about her running club, how they trained, and the 2 fell races she'd done in the last year. The old woman nodded as Lily spoke, but Lily didn't really want to talk about herself. She wanted to know more about her great-great-granddad. Will you tell me about your granddad now? Lily asked, remembering how her mum had told her to encourage Gran to talk about the past. She looked at her dad and saw that he was watching closely too. He was a champion, Gran said, the pride clear in her voice. Lily leaned forward. Really? Really, her Gran said. He won lots of races. It was just before the war that he did his most famous run. He broke the record of the fell race here. Lily felt her Gran's hand grip tight again. And that record, Gran said, still stands 100 years later. Lily loved the strength of her Gran's memories and of her granddad. She loved it that she had fell running in common with a man and a part of her family who had lived a century ago. Which war? Lily asked. The Great War, they called it, her Gran said. The first. Lily remembered what she'd learned at school about the First World War, the trenches, the mud, the endless fighting that left millions of men dead. But Ernest never ran again after the war, Gran went on. He came home safe, but my mum told me that he never ran again. He wasn't injured, but he put his running shoes in his box and closed it. And that was it, fit as a fiddle he was too. And that's kind of the mystery of this story. Lily finds her great-great-granddad's diaries, and she starts to read about what happened to him in the First World War, and she finds out why he, although he lives in the story, why he gave up running, his great love, because there's a reason in the story to do with that. Unfortunately, Ernest Dalzell didn't survive the war, and he was killed, and that's why I've come here. This is the first time I've been here. That's why I've come here, and I wanted to pay my respects to him, which I will do once I finish this film. But I thought I could walk over there for a minute with you, and we could go and see his name on the memorial. And there it is, the name of Ernest Dalzell. But you can see, as I said, there are 35,000 names on this memorial, and another 3,000 graves in the graveyard. And each one of them was a father, maybe a son, a member of a family, and this memorial is a fantastic way of helping us remember them and what they did for us 100 years ago. And it says over there, on that stone there, their name liveth evermore, and in this graveyard, and in the books that we read about them as well. Hopefully that's what we can achieve.